Okay, so for my first case, I had a pediatric case. My girl's name was Katie. She was 16 years old. She was from the Syracuse area. She was homeless. She didn't have any contact with her family. She had a okay relationship with her one sister. During her time that I've learned through her, she did a lot of couch surfing, so she'd jump around from her friends' places, or she'd stay at the Booth House, which was a homeless shelter that she tended to stay during the weekdays, but weekends she was more couch surfing. So she was with her friends. Her diagnosis was a frontal gunshot wound. She was with a friend at the movies when that occurred. So clearly she's very social. She likes spending time with her friends. And now she's in the ICU, and I'm seeing her 2 days post her surgery. Based on what the surgeon said, the surgery went well, but he was unsure if there was going to be any potential or long-term damage to her brain. But he said that when they were doing the surgery, there was little to no damage to her brain, and this occurred in the frontal lobe. So the functions of the frontal lobe that was important to know to kind of base your treatments off of was the frontal lobe is where your emotions are held, your behaviors, language expression, your higher functioning or higher cognitive functions such as your metacognition, your attention, your sequencing, and problem solving is another big piece of this. So that's kind of where I use to guide my interventions. So with OT in the quarantine world, what I was thinking about doing, also she doesn't have, her range of motion is very good. The only really issue she has with that is sitting balance. So my first activity is geared towards, I'm going to have her sit on the side of her bed, and we're going to play a game to work on her sitting balance and endurance of keeping that up. So I thought of Trouble. I originally was going to play Connect 4. This has some rules that you have to follow. So you have to know where what your color is, and then you have to hit the bubble and know that when you roll a 4 or whatever happens with the die, you have to move that many spaces, and you can't land, or you can land on other people's pieces and send them home. So there's different rules. This would be a great way to test her following directions and yeah. So there is that one. Okay. For the next activity, it's a little craft activity. It's simple, but it requires her to be able to follow directions, attention. So underneath all these stickers are little squares, if you can see, designs already on it. This came from a sticker book. So she would have to understand that where the object is, where the lines are, be able to pick off from the sticker sheet and be able to match and identify what shapes go where. There's a lot of triangles, so knowing the different sizes, shapes, sticking it on there. Okay, so my next activity is with cards. This could also serve as a dual purpose for the bedside games. You can play several different games. You could play Goldfish, which is a good cognitive one. You could do War, you could do Slapjack. And then obviously I was trying to do memory, but you can also do a makeshift memory game with this. So obviously you have red and black suits in your card, or in the deck of cards. So you could make it easy and start out. You can grade the activity by using less cards or using strictly all the black suits or red, or then as you get more advanced you can do red and black. So if you were just doing it normal and you just say you did red and black but it just had to be the same number or letter. So for instance, you have a 10 and a 10, and that was a simple way. But if say she flipped this card and the red 10, and then she flipped this one, and you were doing it where it had to be the same color card, she would have to be able to recognize, okay, there's two 10s but they don't go together, and then she'd have to flip and try to find the other red 10. So that's just a simple way of grading the activity and suiting it best to her needs and abilities and skills she has. So the next activity was another craft activity. So I just took a simple small poster board and then I took it and I folded it in half and then I cut it and then used some construction paper to put in the inside to make it pretty. This is personally it fits her needs and abilities and interests. She has trouble expressing what she wants through like via messenger when she's talking to her friends. So I felt that this was a good activity, that it's low stake. She can be creative, she can customize it to like direct it to her friends or what she did that day or how she's feeling and so forth, and it could be a good indicator to you about like, are her sentences, is she wording it correctly, does she have or words going in the right order or something like that. So it works on attention, it works on cognition, expressing her feelings as well as her emotions. Okay. So in that you could use this for anybody because you can literally make it to their needs. You can address it to it's not just like a girly activity. You can do whatever fits the client and what they want to do. And it could be like, maybe it's around the holidays, instead of just making like a little card that they can give to their friends, it's more meaningful or something like that. My last activity is a little fun one. So problem solving. So since she is homeless and she doesn't really have a lot of family help or any like support in that sense, seeing what she already knows, like as a baseline, like can she identify coins and dollar bills, or like does she know what a 20 represents or anything like that. So you could just do a simple task at first with this about just identification, or you could do like as if you were going to the store and you bought milk and eggs or something like that, and your total came to $8 or $5 and you paid with a 20, like, so you would kind of simulate that you were the cashier, so she gave you a 20 and it was $5, so you could ask her how much are you going to get back, and you would ask her to show her via the money. So you would test her to see if she could give you a 10 and a 5 back. You could make it more tricky by saying it was $5.50 or $5.78 and give her the things she needs. You could also test it by saying, like, you're going to the bank and you ask them to break a 20 for you, and you can say just make the change however you see fit. Or you can make it even harder by saying, like, you're gonna make the change with a $10 bill, a 5, 3 ones, and then 8 quarters, or something where she really has to think through, or like giving her a set amount and asking her to add it up. So just testing that cognition, seeing what she can and cannot do. You could also turn this activity, I just thought about this, you could turn this activity into like a journaling activity, and then testing her by recalling what she made or what she wrote or who she even wrote to, or some of the conversations she's had about this. So although it seems a little silly, these are small activities that you could definitely use in the ICU setting because you are restricted. There's not a lot of space, there's a lot of machinery or like health or medical machines like IVs and lines and stuff like that she might be on. So you have to take into consideration how much movement she has. But I feel like all these activities require a little movement, and she would be able to still do these successfully, and it'd give you an idea of where she is cognitively.